talking with Kelly Barrera. Kelly, if you don't mind, just start out, just tell us about you.
Sure.
And then we'll ask you how you wound up in that seat, okay?
Okay, absolutely. Kelly Barrera, I I'll tell you a little bit, I'm a mom. I have two children who are out of school and into college. I have one who needs to finish college and one who's in her second year of college. I am 49 years old. I've been married to my husband for 27 years, and we have a happy family. We've been in St. Johns County for that time, and we've been homeowners and been a part of the community. And I have been serving on the Airport Authority for the last 8 years. I have also been an avid volunteer with the school district. I have worked for the school district as a community partnership coordinator on a grant with the Ford Next Generation Learning. And so when Bill Failing decided not to run, I thought about running for school district because I'm very passionate about our schools and I'm an advocate for our schools. And so I have now put my name into the hat for that, and I'm a candidate for District 4.
And you're off the Airport Authority no matter what?
Yes,
you can't
by
go
putting,
back.
right.
Mm-hmm. What made you decide to switch from airplanes to kids?
Well, it's an easy question because if you look throughout my history, it's aviation and education. Those are two things that I can get very passionate about. And I thoroughly loved working for the school district. And even after I left the school district as a part of that grant, I still was out advocating for business partners and community partners. And somebody said to me, "You're now working for Embry-Riddle. How do you feel about that?" I said, "I love it because I get to combine two of my passions, aviation and education, together." And they said, "Well, you're still such an advocate for the school district." And I said, "Absolutely. We've got the best school district in the state. How could you not be? And how could people not want to get involved?" So it was a natural. Even with the Airport Authority, I was instrumental in building partnerships with interns, not only with our school district, but also with JU. And I really, really, really feel that everybody has a responsibility to get involved. By the end, I may be trying to find out when you guys are going to be taking more interns, because I think that the success of our school district flows out to the success of our community, and I feel very strongly about that. And everybody really can get involved. It's a benefit to the businesses, it's a benefit to the charities, and it's a benefit to every property owner.
You mentioned Embry-Riddle. Can you tell me about that?
I love working for Embry-Riddle. I get to.
Do you work for Embry-Riddle?
I do.
Now? Okay.
Absolutely. It's on a state grant, and I'm a program manager, and I get to help with their dual enrollment program at 13 high schools. And it's all about getting kids interested in science, technology, engineering, and math, and getting them to turn their lights on and get excited about something they may not have thought about, regardless of whether they go into aviation or not. I've been a business partner with the Aerospace Academy since it started, and one of the things that I remember hearing at one of the business partner award recognitions, and there was a kid that came up and he talked about how his aviation classes at St. Augustine High were the best part of his day. And he said, "But I'm not going to go into aviation." He said, "But I probably would have dropped out without him." And I think that that's what those opportunities bring. That's why I'm a big advocate for the career academies as well.
You can talk about your love and your background in aviation. What is that?
Well, I went to Jacksonville University. I graduated from the Davis College of Business. I was the first female graduate from the aviation program, and have been on the JU Aviation Advisory Board I've actually been past chair of the Aviation Advisory Board. I did that for 2 years, but I've been on their executive committee for the last 6 years. And so that's not another post-secondary aviation. I've been a part of the Aerospace Academy at St. Augustine High. I've been on the Airport Authority for the past 8 years. I've also worked for 2 airlines. I've worked for an FBO out at Craig Field. I've worked for a flight school in exchange for flight time.
I was going to ask you, are you a pilot?
I do have my pilot's license. You know, people ask me, and I forget to even mention that because
Took you long enough. Come on.
you don't when you're talking about yourself, you don't think of every little
Just
thing.
the
I'm not
little
good at
things
that.
just slip your mind, like flying airplanes.
So what do you fly?
Especially, I have my trained in Tomahawks, which
Wow.
the nickname for Tomahawks is Traumahawks, and they said that if you can land that, you can land anything. So but I've also flown Warriors. I've flown Cessnas, and
Wow.
yeah,
Impressive.
it's neat. It's really neat.
It must be. Okay, this goes into the other thing. The school board job, do you consider that a full-time job?
I consider it pretty close to full-time. I understand that you can get as much involved with it or as little involved with it. And so I'm very interested in how that looks.
But you're planning on, you'll be working at the school board and keeping, and being appointed in your rental?
I decided that I'm going to wait to see if I'm elected before I make any of those type of decisions because August, first of all, I work for Emory Riddle on a grant. August is when the election is, and then you don't actually take office until later. So I haven't made any decisions on that.
So that's up in the air?
I haven't made any decisions on that.
There's one in every frame.
We should have some popcorn, we can just throw it at it.
Well,
So if you were elected, what would you do your first 30 or 60 days? What would be your marching orders? What would you say would be your priorities?
the very first thing I do is try to learn everything I can. Everything. I've already tried to meet with several of the different district personnel. I've met with the director of curriculum, the assistant, Martha Michler, the assistant superintendent. I've met with Dr. Joyner. I have a meeting with Bruce Petro. I've met with Christine Langston. Really, I think that if you're going to be in that board type of position, and that's what I did with the airport, I spent hours. You want to get as much knowledge as you can and learn.
Quite a different skill set, though, isn't it? Or is it the same?
For school district
For school-
versus the
versus
airport authority?
Yeah.
You know what? I think that there's a lot of similarities. One, you're responsible for taxpayers' dollars, and I have done a very good job with that. That's not your money. It's the public's money. And that's very similar. When you're looking at multi-million-dollar budgets, you're looking at insurance, you're looking at all those business decisions. That's very similar. Very similar.
Has the school board been making poor business decisions? Do you see a place that you can
I
make
see
them?
I see no evidence of that. Now, I've sat through the budget meetings. I've gone over the budget. There's not been anything that's been a red flag, and no one has pointed out a red flag to me.
So you don't have any real concerns with the way things are being run now?
I have not seen anything that would make me hugely concerned now.
Would you have run if Failing hadn't?
I think he's
Decided
doing
not
an
to?
excellent job. I would not have, because he's done an excellent job.
So if you were in the pilot seat and it came budget time and you had to cut $100,000, how would you approach that?
If I had to cut $100,000 and I was in the pilot seat, one of the ways I would look at it was with the airport, we looked at insurance and where we could cut back on insurance. You look at one of the things I love that the school district's been doing is cutting back on energy cost, and they've done an excellent job at that, and I see that continuing going forward. And I would also look at how to increase through business partnerships. How to increase that funding. Not knowing a direct place to where to cut, I would look at where to add.
A little more on funding. A lot of the mandates come from Tallahassee, and then there's no funding. Do you think what's the role of a school board member, and do you think that a school board member should be going to Tallahassee and lobbying our lawmakers and being part of that?
You know, with the airport authority, we had the situation with the tower, and the airport authority board members needed to get involved, and I think that that's a situational decision. We have an excellent representative to Tallahassee and Beth Sweeney, and I think that would depend on the situation. Sometimes when board members get involved, they actually detract from the mission, and I think that it would depend on the situation and what was called for, but I certainly have no problem being an advocate to our legislature. I have no problem at all with that.
Do you see, I mean, the funding, of course, for the schools comes, there's a little bit of the local money and so much of it is the state. Do you see, I mean, more problems with the appropriation, the state appropriations, or with the way the district dollars are being doled out? Does that make sense?
I think that capital funding needs to have that $500,000 that's been taken away. And I would advocate for that, to come back in a growing district like ours. We
How
need
would it
it
come back?
through the legislature.
Okay. Not a sales tax. I'm just asking.
What's your position on charter schools?
Are you asking if I'm open to charter
Yeah,
schools?
Yeah.
Um,
They take money, the money follows the student,
Mm-hmm.
and they leave the district.
You know, I'm open to the concept of charter schools, provided that they are able to perform at the same level that our school district performs. Here in St. Johns County, we have charter schools already, and they're filling a need that our school district isn't. But when it comes to fair is fair, and I think that there has to be an equity there on both sides.
So you don't see a problem spending public money on private Catholic or colloquial schools?
You know, here's the thing. If you're getting public money and you're getting a profit for that, is that a good return on the public's dollar? That's the question.
Are you asking me?
No, I'm basically
That's what
posing that as my statement, because you have to look at that. And without looking at that in each individual situation, my question to you would be, how is that physically responsible to the taxpayers?
You know, there's a lot of different ideas on that.
What do you think are the top 2 or 3 challenges for the district right now?
I definitely think that growth is one of the top challenges. There's estimates that we could grow by a school a year. And without funding, how does that happen? And without that $500,000 back into the capital, how does that happen? So I see that from a funding standpoint. I also see it from that quality and leadership standpoint, because when you're growing at that rate, we've got the best teachers. We do a great job of coaching them up, and we also have an awesome leadership team in place, but you want to be able to keep that across the board without it being watered down.
Okay, let's go from excellent teachers into one. And I know that, I believe you talked with the St. John's Education, with the union, the teachers union, and I know they specifically, well, I'm almost positive they specifically talked to you about the teacher firings or not rehirings. It depends on how they say that. Do you know enough about that to have an opinion about what?
No, I've not investigated both sides of that, so I do not know enough about that.
That's a good answer.
It's the truth.
I don't think Dr. Joyner's gotten all the answers yet.
No, but I do know that when I was at the board meeting and he heard the issues, he was visibly upset. Visibly.
I know that he, part of his explanation was that he lets the principals do all the hiring and the firing without a central. Do you agree with that way that he does that, or?
You know, I haven't heard both sides of that. So I would not even try to answer that, because you can see advantages and disadvantages, and we're the #1 school district in the state for 6 years. So the leadership, Dr. Joyner's leadership, is doing something right. So I'd have to really delve into that before I stated a position on that either way.
What about year-round schools? Other states have implemented them. What's your position on having year-round schools here?
You know, I just read an article that talked about the academic benefits of year-round schooling. And actually, it might have been in my instructional design course that I'm taking. And it's something that I've heard a lot about. From a student side, I could see the advantages to it. From a teacher's side, there's a lot of advantages to recharging your battery. That gives so much. And at the end of the school year, they're done. And if you want to have them give the best, that break is a great way to do it. And so while I'm not opposed to that, it would be something, again, I would really have to delve into.
Is any of the stuff you've read talked about the financial upside for that for the school districts? I mean, I'm sure it has to be, or I'm not sure, I shouldn't say that. I mean, it seems like it would be cheaper to run them and get the kids in and out and get them through. I'm not sure about maintenance and all that, but is there some substantial savings that you know of? Or
Not that I'm aware of. I could see that argument could go both ways, because when you do shutdowns over the summer, you actually save so much money. So you'd have to really kind of see the pen and pencil on that.
What's your position on the textbooks, local versus state mandated?
You know, I think that I want to see more and more of our own local control. I think that our teachers, our parents, our administrators,
to select the textbooks?
I think that, you know, I keep saying it, but St. Johns County is doing things right. And I think that the more that we have control over, the better.
I think actually, I think one of the problems with that, as I recall, with Dr. Joyner that was actually an unfunded mandate for us, because it was not just the fact that we could pick our own books. It was going to take hundreds and hundreds of hours of staff time to go through them and to vet the books and all that. And I think there's also a concern from some other people that you could have 67 different districts singing off different hymnals as far as education goes. Do you see that as a problem? I mean, us using something different than Duval, or Duval using something different than using different textbooks than Volusia. And I mean, it just seems to some people that having 67 counties with possibly 67 curriculums, it's possible that a lot of them would double up on the same books. Does that concern you at all?
You know, as long as we're looking at increasing our academic standards, I think that we can have the type of curriculum that supports that. If that's what our overall goal is, which I think it is, that's what we keep doing. And I think the leadership of the school district keeps doing that as well. I don't see that as being, other than being unfunded, because there is so much that's coming that's unfunded.
What about class size? In a perfect world, what's the number for you?
I think that it probably depends on grade level. I think it probably depends on the course that's being taught. As I'm going through my head, I'm thinking of different courses, I'm thinking of different numbers.
Generally speaking, and don't mean to put words in your mouth at all, so just tell me this wrong, but generally speaking, a lot of people say, yes, we need the smaller class sizes in the elementary, and you can open them up more toward the higher grades because the little kids need, I don't know, so
It depends on the class. Is it a
first grade is kind of first grade. They don't
no?
really-
But if you're looking at the high school, do you really want 30 kids in your algebra class, or do you really want 30 kids in your? You know what I mean? I would.
Right.
But if it was a class where it was PE, or it was a different type of class that's more interactive,
Broken into groups.
right? It may be a different answer.
What about just typical first grade general class?
You know, I think the low 20s are good.
That would be a great way to save money for the district, though, or to stretch the dollars.
Right.
I mean,
But that
according
wouldn't.
to that,
But this district is focused on quality education, and that's one of the reasons I'm so proud of this district.
but I
They
imagine
haven't focused on
if the
how to
district could
stretch
get
the
around
dollar.
legislative mandates, I'm sure the district would. I mean, I'm
As
sure
long-
they've been,
as long
they've
as
been
it was in
lobbying
the-
to do that.
But I think the leadership of the district is very focused as long as it's in the best interest of the kids. I don't think the leadership of the district is focused on whether it's in the best interest of is that academic excellence first.
How do we stay number one?
I think how we stay number one is by continuing to put the right leadership in place, first and foremost, by continuing to focus on academic excellence, by continuing to have our district will try new things, but they don't try everything new. They pilot things just like they're doing with the digital learning. And they're putting things really to work out all the kinks before they put it across the board. By continuing to do those things in the right manner, and they hire great people. They hire great teachers. They attract great teachers. They coach up the great teachers, and then they provide leadership to them.
As the parent of two children that are graduates of St. John's County Schools, do you think that their education has well prepared them for success as an adult?
I think that graduates of St. John's County Schools are well prepared, but both of my kids, while they were in high school, one at Nice and one at Ponte Vedra, decided that they wanted to go to the same school their dad went to, which was actually Bishop Kenny. So I can't say that as a parent of the graduates, but I can certainly say as a parent of kids who were involved in the high schools.
Get back to a little side thing on the class size. We were talking about the St. John's County is doing very well on that. Duval County's been fined actually millions of dollars over the last few years because of breaking, of going way over the class sizes. And the reason that St. John's County, according to the district, is able to stay within those things is the use of teacher aides and associate teachers to break the classrooms up. Mm-hmm. Do you have any thoughts on the associate teachers and teacher aide and the way they're used in St. John's County?
Before we go to that,
rather than teacher aide's not a teacher, that type of thing?
before we go to that, can I go back to that last statement about my kids? I do want it very well known that even though my children went to the same school that their dad went to and decided on their own, against both mine and my husband's wishes, to go to the same school, I want it to be known that I stayed as a volunteer in St. John's County Schools, and that's a part of the dedication that I've shown. And I want that to be put out there before we go on to another question, because I think it's one thing to say our schools are great. I think it's another thing to say our schools are great, and I've continued to stick with our schools even when my kids weren't there. So I'm sorry to make you have to ask that question again, but my mind really couldn't go
No, it's
beyond making sure I made that
Has that
statement.
become an issue? Has that come up anywhere?
No,
is that
no.
something that your opponents using?
Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge. No, but you know, as a parent, both of my kids independently came to me and said, my son said he was in the IB program at Nice. I want to go to Bishop Kenny. I said, I'm very happy here. And he said, it's not about you. I want to go to Bishop Kenny. And so my husband and I struggled with that, and we actually had him talk to somebody independent from either one of us to make sure that he wasn't running away from something that we weren't aware of and that we weren't enabling him. And then my daughter did the same thing to us at the end of her sophomore year. And neither one of them really had a real reason why that they shared with us. But I want to make sure that people understand, especially with this being videotaped, that even though my kids left the school district, I did not.
Okay.
Okay, now you can ask me your other.
Okay. St. John's County has been, I'll tone down a little. St. John's County has been able to stay, according to Dr. Jordan and everyone else, has been able to keep pretty well within the class size limits where Duval County hasn't. Duval County's been fined millions every year because for that. This comes straight out of their budgets for teaching. But according to the district, the reason they can do that here is because they have teachers, they have associate teachers, and they have aides. Mm-hmm. And there's some different ways that some people think that the associate teachers aren't. Do you have any thoughts about associate teachers and teachers and aides?
You know, I think that if somebody's interested in teaching and they want to teach in St. Johns County, that coming through as an associate teacher or an aide is a great way to do it. I think that that gives them a kind of a leg up, and I think everybody needs to be treated with respect. And other than that, I don't really have any strong opinions on that particular subject.
Okay.
I haven't been made aware of anything that would cause me to, but certainly if I was made aware of anything that would cause me to, I would definitely investigate it.
What about cursive writing? We're gonna stop teaching cursive writing?
No, Tim Egner told me that we had added back in cursive writing.
Oh, good, that's
Yes.
good news,
Yes.
because we're all writing.
Well, and a lot of our historical documents and everything are in cursive.
Okay, good news. What haven't we asked you that we should have? What do you want to tell us? Tell the voters.
Well, I think one of the things I'd want people to know about me is that, number one, I have been engaged in the schools. I have been engaged in the school district. I do have experience from a leadership level, being an elected official and being responsible. I am a creative thinker. I am a doer. I do have experience from a post-secondary level. I've had experience teaching, not for a school district, but certainly in the private sector. I have a strong management background. I am someone who is committed.
And you can fly.
I can fly. I can fly.
That's bonus, that's perks.
Well, thank you.
Are there
It's
those
a lot of
planes
fun.
that you talk about flying? Are there any here that you can,
The Tomahawks aren't, but the Warriors certainly are, and so are the Cessnas.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Cessnas, yeah, I know those. Do you do any of that aerobatic?
No,
Stuff those guys
no, but I love to watch it.
They are something. Are they called extras, the one they use out there so
We do
much?
have some extras, yeah. Kind
of neat.
They are very neat. Very neat. What else would I want you to know about me? I would want you to know that I've been in my community for a very long period of time. And I've been involved in the community, and I've invested in my own community. And that's one of the reasons that I think I am a very strong candidate for this position. Whether that be doing the sea turtle patrol that I've been doing for the past 10 years, whether that be volunteering for something at Bird Island Park, things that really may not have anything to do specifically with the school district, but certainly have to do with the community. I would want you to know that.
Any other key differentiators between you and your opponent?
I think my background is a key differentiator. I think my not only just from a leadership and management standpoint, but just from a life standpoint. You know, I started off as the parent who went to 8 different preschools before I could decide where to send
Wow.
my son, my
You
firstborn.
vetted them.
Yeah.
Because education's
Oh, yeah.
important, and those just life experiences. I think that are an added bonus in this position because I understand where people have been. I understand some of the struggles that when your kids are in school that you face. My perspective is different. I think that would be, so my background, my experience, my perspective. And then the other thing is that I'm a creative thinker. And when I was at the school district and I was working with the partnerships, I was able to think of things creatively to implement. And I accomplished a lot in that one year. And it was really even beyond what I had thought about, but it just meeting with the family services team, meeting with the students in the exceptional education, not the students, but the director of in the educational student program, exceptional student education program, and those type of things. I was able to come up with ideas and initiate things that hadn't been done before, and that's what I bring.
Last question that I have is that as you've made the rounds and speaking to various groups about your candidacy, what do you think is the most common feedback item that you've received from parents that they would like to see you take on if you're elected?
One of the things that I've heard the most from parents is the over-testing. Over-testing. And that's really one of the things that I see as one of the mandates that have come down. When you can sometimes have 6 weeks of school, the last 6 weeks really focused on that, that's one of the concerns, and that's one of my concerns. And the high stakes, it's over testing and high stakes testing. Really kind of go hand in hand.
Is there well, unless we get something else, but is there anything that you actually think that at the district level you can do about that, or that's all Tallahassee?
You know, I think that at the district level, the school district's already trying to streamline some of that with their district formative assessments, and they're trying to take that down so that there isn't as much testing. So I think from a district level, that is being addressed continually. But I also think from a state level, we need to advocate for the less testing.
Okay. You?
I'm done.
Good.
Anything else you want to tell us?
I can tell you that when I was elected for the airport authority, I have done a good job. I represented people well, including my critics, and not necessarily my critics, but critics of the airport. And I would expect to do the same in this position. And I am not interested in political office for political office sake. I would not do this if it wasn't something that I felt completely passionate about. And the first prompt to do this was somebody hearing me become passionate talking about education. One of my dad's favorite sayings was always, "Nobody can take your education away from you." When I talk to students in the high schools, I tell them their education is an investment in themselves. That's the one thing you can always do for yourself no matter what, that will carry you through in life. And I encourage them to get as much education as they can while they're in school. And I think that this is definitely, it's one of the most important things in our society, safety and education. that would be about all I could get on that soapbox for a long time. But
Okay, I got one more for you.
okay,
Do you see anything past the school board? Do you see Tallahassee?
no,
Look,
No.
look.
no.
You know, times I've heard that.
I'm a good
from
person
successful.
doing the right things for the right reasons. I have no intentions of.
There's nothing wrong. I didn't
I
mean it
hear
in any
you.
way.
I
but
hear
you're-
you.
you're
But-
clear-
but
you're
somebody-
clearly
Somebody else asked me,
a
you
talented
know,
person, and you know you're the type that I've seen want to go into something.
no, I like my community. I like it here. I have no intentions of leaving St.
Well,
Johns County.
you can be a representative and stay in your community. You don't live in Tallahassee the whole time, do you?
No.
Okay.
No, but
Fair enough.
I don't see
fly.
myself becoming passionate about Tallahassee. I don't see that.
That may be the best thing you've said yet.
Passionate, Tallahassee.
It's hard to get passionate about Tallahassee. That's great. That's great.
Kelly, thanks so much for coming
Yeah.
today and visiting with us.
Well, thank you for having me. I keep trying not to look at the video camera down there, and I do hope that you edit it tremendously.